What's good, Kuudra gang? It's your goat Endervoid here with another banger upload, and yeah, pretty much Party Finder's really been sucking these days. Nobody pre-fires, nobody's pre-LBing, nobody's building properly, nobody can do X, nobody cancels. Yeah, rending is also really bad now. Everyone's like rending about 40 mils. So yeah, here's your guide to actually doing Kuudra, and I'll probably update it every month. I'll probably make some supplies guides and everything, but yeah. If you don't have sub 2 runs mainly, or if you don't get like sub 145, then this video is pretty much for you. If you don't know what you're doing in Infernal Kuudra and you're doing 2-minute 30 plus runs, yeah, this video is definitely for you. What is that frame drop? Pretty much, if you didn't know anything that I said at the start, this video is going to be for you. It's going to be absolutely worth your time, because if you're getting at least like 2-minute 30 runs, you're really bad in Infernal and you're throwing Party Finder pretty hard. And yeah, if you're rending and if you can't do over 150 mil on second pull or something, then yeah, you need to watch this video as well. I'll probably make a separate rending video. I'll go over it like a tiny bit in this video, but yeah, that's pretty much it. And let's get right into the video. And by the way, I won't just be standing around and talking like this. That's your average Endervoid video. No, this isn't your average Endervoid video. I spent now like 3 weeks on the script, and yeah, you better enjoy it. And yeah, I want my anderle to be pretty high, so give me watch time, watch the whole thing. It's going to be absolutely worth it for you, and I'll actually hop into a run because Shnurk's in my party right now. Alright, so this video is mainly going to be split into 2 main parts. The first one being your actual gear guide, and that's just going to go through part 1, part 2, part 3, and part 4. So everything that you need, your actual setup, everything that you need to survive, everything you need to do damage, everything you need as QOL, and all your debuffing items. So that's the first part. And then the second part is the actual usages as well as gameplay. So pel cancelling, pre-fire, how much tap you need, and pretty much how you can pull your supplies in with the most efficiency. So yeah, let's go through the first part. So start your runs all in Ember. By the way, all my runs right now, I'm actually not running. I'm just like popping in, so you actually have something to look at. Don't worry about the mobs. So start all your runs in Ember, and the reason for that is so when you pull your supply in, let's say it doesn't pull something, or you're on X and there's like a tentacle here and here, so you can't make it, then you can easily go barrier pretty quickly. By the way, my FPS is really bad every time I record, so yeah, deal with that, cope, I don't really care. Yeah, that's the main thing. Start all your runs in Ember, and this Ember should be reforged to necrotic and also recom, so you have as much intel as possible. And what that means is that every time that you actually need to go back to mid, by the way, I'm unsighted, which I shouldn't be. Every time I go back to mid, it means that I'm on full mana. What that means is that I can actually clear mobs. So let's say I just pull one in, then you go straight to mid. I should have about 1.2k mana usually, but I'm accidentally unsighted, so yeah, don't worry about that. When you go to mid, then as soon as you swap to your actual setup, then you've already got 3k, and that's pretty good. So that's the main reason why you want your Ember on necrotic, and that's why it's actually good. You could have it on giant, but are you really going to be running around with your EHP setup as your Ember setup? Yeah, probably not. Yeah, for your pet should be your Blaze Pet, and what the Blaze Pet does is that you get 10% more buffs on all your EHP and a little bit of mana. It doesn't really help your damage because you don't actually need damage. That's what you're going to learn in this video. You don't really need damage part 1, part 2, part 3. Part 3 is just hits of course, but you don't need like mage damage at all. Your 5L carries, and honestly, as long as you kill the mobs in like a couple seconds and you don't die to them, which is the main thing right now, then you should be fine. Now, another thing is that you should always use your 5L. That's a very important part. And then your actual setup, you should have hardened mana on everything. I just have mana vamp on my goggles in case I ever do dungeons, but hardened mana is a lot better than mana vamp in Kuudra because you're not going to be healing much. You're going to be using a lava shell most of the time if you're actually good at the game. I'll talk about that a bit later, but yeah, you should be having hardened mana, because what that does is that if you absolutely spam your hype right now, it basically means that from 1k defense you go all the way up to about 2k defense. I didn't fully max it out, but then you've got 80k EHP even without having it maxed. And what that really means is that it's going to be a lot easier for you to survive everything, and hardened mana also gives you another about 1k when you're actually doing stuff, because it's just really good. It's pretty impressive, and honestly that's just a really good part of having hardened mana instead of all the other items. And yeah, that's probably one of the most important things. So I'll hop into another run so you've got something to look at. So the rest of the stuff that you want on your Aurora, it's pretty self-explanatory. If you want to actually like do other stuff apart from just Kuudra, get like a different setup, mana full mana regen obviously, but most of the time in Kuudra, the actual best setup for EHP isn't actually like mana full vita. It's more undead res, because if you're wondering, undead res is a little bit bugged right now. It's not really bugged, but it should have been like this from the start. They like mistyped it, but undead res, instead of being a like plus 37 defense, it's plus 37% defense. So instead of having 1k defense, then you have 1.37k defense, and it's quite a good amount, and I'm pretty sure it does scale with your refrigerate as well as your hot mana. So you're going to be getting up to about 4k defense, and if you're wondering the amount of EHP you should be having during build, which is the most time that you actually need EHP for, should be having about 150k to about 200k EHP. It's pretty easy to get to, and it's quite a nice thing to have. It just makes everything a lot easier, and you won't be dying as much, meaning that your build is going to be as efficient as possible. And if you're wondering, if you throw build, you suck at Kuudra. Now the next thing that you need to know is that mod config. So your mod config, right now what I'm using, NEU is just for my armor wardrobe keybinds. So if you're wondering what that is, wardrobe keybinds just means that if I go into my wardrobe and I click a certain button like this and this, I don't actually have to go onto it, but it just equips my armor set for me. That's incredibly useful, especially if you're doggying or you're just swapping armor sets later on. Just have your other keybinds in Skykills. So if you're wondering what Skykills keybinds are here, key shortcuts, here are mine. So I've got that, don't worry about that. Pets, if you're swapping pets and you don't have enough pets, sacks or ender pearls, wardrobe, storage, Gat Raider, EQ. Now Gat Raider, that one goes towards njwn, which is in chat triggers. I'll just call this Thomas Tank Engine from further on. It's kind of weird to call it just njwn. So there's a ton of stuff in here, just check it out yourself, but it's all the things that you want to turn on. Yeah, you'll find it's incredibly useful, and the main thing that it does, it gives you like party commands, and what party commands are. So if you dot builds, then everyone just shows the thing. I'm just really laggy right now, so don't worry about that. Yeah, that's pretty much njwn. It also gives you a really nice looking thing in the middle of your build, so that's quite a nice thing as well. Yeah, that's the main thing with njwn so far. And then what else we have is, alright, never mind. The other things that we have are volcanic anons. So what this is just Kuudra stuff, Kuudra health display, and all of that. Yeah, that's pretty much that, and I'll hop into another one. So the rest of the stuff that you should know about in P1 is just always have your file veil up. It's pretty useful, it's really nice as well, and it does a very nice amount of damage. A lot of people don't know that it pretty much does damage every tick instead of second. It's pretty useful, and that's pretty much why everyone uses it. Now the next thing is of course just pre-LB Kuudra in this phase, and I'll talk about what pre-LB is, but just have a last breath with duplex flame in quiv, piercing, and you know, just the average enchants. As long as it can do extra hits, it's better that way. And just always have toxic arrow poison in your inventory, it's nicer, so later on you'll always have it on you. And that's pretty much your P1. Just don't die, do your supplies, know your routings, and that's it. I'll talk about routings later in the part 2 of the video, but yeah, not part 2 as in build phase, but you know what I mean. In build, you should have all your mana enchant stuff done, and by that time you should have about 3k, 4k defense. And what that means is that you won't be dying, just keep fire veiling every once in a while to help with everyone else's Han mana, and yeah, you should be done with build pretty quickly. Now, that is about it, and yeah, P1, P2, all the requirements are pretty much the same. You should have everything done by P2, and yeah. Alright, so now at P3, your gear is kind of chill, so all you need is, of course, your Terror set on. I'll talk about your actual, like, DPS in part 4, but you just need a Terror set. Have your Warden on it, so it's pretty chill. You don't have to swap. Precursor Eye is massively overrated. You never need it. You probably already knew that. And to be honest, all you need is 32 tap. A lot of people use less than that, but 32 tap is the minimum, because you definitely need a lot of pre-fire. I'll talk about what pre-fire is, and all you need to do is just fire before the stunner is. And yeah, just have your 32 tap on, and your lifeline should have already been like fully done. If you're wondering, I'm running a lava shell already, and pretty much just most of my DPS setup in my equipment, and just one gauntlet of contagion, because that's all I need to clear. After I get better supplies, then you won't actually need your gauntlet of contagion, but for now I kind of need mine. If you get sub 30 seconds, then yeah, just run DPS. Alright, so now your P3 gear is pretty chill. All you need is of course your Terror set. It doesn't really need anything for now. I'll talk about your actual DPS items later and your DPS like stuff. But for now, all you need is 32 tap, and if you're wondering why you need 32 tap, I'll talk about pre-fire later, but it's pretty much so if all the stunner stuns, you can just shoot it already and you won't run out of tap. Having 16 is way too little, having 22 is also way too little, so you definitely need 32 tap each time, and that's just the most efficient way you can get DPS done. Yeah, just pre-fire and you'll be fine. If you're stunning, just have 1.5k mining speed if you're brick stunning. But then on the other hand, if you're insta stunning, you should know what you need. It's about 1 bill, you need a 655, you need a mining setup, and you need about fully maxed mining speed and mining speed 2. So that's the main thing that you'll need for stunner. It's pretty chill. Stunning should leave build at 90%, and yeah, that's pretty much your P3. A good P3 goes for about 11 seconds, so yeah, try to get yourself an 11-second fuel once done, as it shows in the left-hand corner of my part. And yeah, that's pretty much your fuel once done. Pretty easy, and yeah, there's not much gear that you actually need in it. Alright, finally, now you got your actual DPS. If you're wondering, Terminator, if you only have one Terminator, you have to get a Fatal Tempo one. Duplex just doesn't do anything really. If you're just using Duplex, then why are you doing this? You do like literally no extra damage. Just get a Fatal Tempo term. It does so much more. If you actually test in Magma Boss, I get about 1 bill plus, about 1.3 bill using a Fatal Tempo term, and about 650 mil using my Duplex one, which I had before. It was really not worth it, and if you are using Duplex, you should be swapping. Now, if you're rending, you should know what you need. There's a new guide on Kuudra Gang, so you can check that, but you need to at least do 150 mil on second peak, so that's pretty much your requirements. If you do 40 mil, just honestly just swap back to Fatal Tempo and Duplex swap. It's just a lot more efficient and a lot better. You'll do more damage, and honestly, you probably won't die as much, and in the long run, you're helping your party, so that's all. Now the next part is of course your actual other items, so yeah, let me just respawn real quick, and the actual other items that you'll need. So you want at least lifeline 40, and then Legion, and a couple other things. Right, so my part 4 gear requirements are already incredibly low, so yeah, don't say anything. If you don't have all of this, then you're really bad at Kuudra, and honestly you should not be running Infernal. And so the first thing that you'll need is of course Fiery Terror, and then lifeline 40, mana pool 40 at least. Mana pool 40 isn't highly recommended since it's so expensive, but it is really good, so you want that. I don't have lifeline mana pool yet because I'm really broke right now, as you can see. And lifeline 40 is just a must because it's so cheap right now, and honestly it does quite a good amount of damage. I do an extra 60k when I'm lifeline, so it's quite useful. Now the next thing is of course full gemstones. I've only got flawless because I'm really poor. Put on perfect, and if you're running rend, then use perfect sapphires. And then the next thing is of course full Legion 5. It's highly worth it, and it's pretty cool to look at as well. And then a 1 helmet, of course, 1.15k magic power, don't worry about mine. Yeah, you want that because then you can have as much crit damage as you possibly can. Crit damage is overpowered in Kuudra, by the way, because you get so much strength. And yeah, just use crit damage tunings, and then ferocity enrichments if you're on a Fatal Tempo. But then on the other hand, if you're running rend, then just chuck it onto crit damage. Now, of course, you definitely need a level 200 G-Drag, a Reaper set, a Rag Axe with a flawless and pretty much being recomped. I haven't because I'm stupid. And then preferably climb 2 to 3. It's really expensive right now, but it does give you a huge amount of strength, and that strength does add up in the long run. So yeah, it's really worth it. If you're rending, I'll assume that you have at least 10 hours in kindergarten because you'll definitely need that. You want a rend bone with P7 cube 6 and overload, a swarm mace with cube 6, X cube 6 and G-Tor 7, climb 3 Ragax, Infernal Terror, lifeline 60 plus, mana pool 50 plus, rend term or juju. Highly recommend a rend term so you can actually do DPS with it in part 3. And it means that you won't have to shoot it in part 4, and that just means that you can 1-peak. Probably most of you aren't going to be able to 1-peak, so just 2-peak, and if you're 2-peaking, then you can just use a juju for rending. But yeah, it's highly unrecommended, but yeah. Now, don't run Flaming Fist because it creates a ton of lag in game, and it also makes a lot of ferocity, and you don't want ferocity because it absolutely griefs rend. So yeah, don't have any ferocity on. You can turn everything off, by the way, if you go to potion effects. Yeah, just go check your booster cookie, and then your potion effects, just turn off everything that gives you ferocity, and with your accessories, the blood chalice, you can actually turn that off. Yeah, turn everything off that gives you ferocity, so you don't absolutely grief everything, and that's pretty much it. Now, yeah, Ferro Mana with Strong Mana 9 on all pieces. If you're running Rend, of course Strong Mana, but if you're not running Rend, then Ferro Mana, that's pretty obvious. Mana Drain is also an insane amount of DPS, so don't take it lightly. If you're a touchy little mana draining kid, then you should be running AOTS and you're excited. But I won't really talk about that. If you're going to run it, then ask people about it, and you need to be good at the game, so yeah. Right, so another thing is that having a perm is incredibly useful. As soon as you start Kuudra, you need someone who can actually guide you, so if you got some people who don't know how to actually play, or you're just using Party Finder with people under 100 runs, you're going to turn into one of them, even if you've got the gear, even if you've got the skill, because you're not going to learn it right, you're going to play wrong, and then you're going to have really bad runs. On the other hand, if you aren't running with a perm or aren't running with friends, at least have about 400 plus runs already, and then just use Party Finder, because Party Finder It's alright at 500 plus. It's also pretty alright, like people actually rent at 1k plus, but everything under that, you want to have friends, you want to have a perm, you want to have something that actually can do, like some people who can actually play Kuudra. With me, I've got a ton of friends from Kuudra gang, so that's pretty much it. And yeah, from here on, it's basically just going to be upgrading all your items, having more lifeline, and yeah, that's pretty much all your DPS. By the way, with Fatal Tempo stopping, later on, if you want to get a second Terminator, what that means is that with your Fatal Tempo one, have about Fatal Tempo 2 to 3, because that just means you can max it out in about 2 shots instead of 3 shots. And if you want to have it maxed in 1 shot, then you can have Fatal Tempo 4 or 5. 4 is like highly recommended, because then you just have to swap over to it once and then have your duplex on. It doesn't do that much more, but it's pretty cool. Now, yeah, that's pretty much it. Pre-LBing and pre's and like your rootings is pretty much up next. Take a break and yeah, I'll hop right into that. So now that we're actually done with the gear and everything, if you want to actually check some more, you can hop into Kuudra gang. They've got a very good gear guide, and you're actually like all the items that you need for part 4, and that's pretty much all that really matters. Using undead res, then you're pretty much done with that. So let's actually get into gameplay. So the first thing is that as soon as 9 seconds hit, you should already have your rod out. And what this means is that you can pull it in as soon as it spawns. So right here, I always do try, but by the way, because that's just me, I kind of suck at everything else. But by the way, try is the easiest supply of all of them because it's pretty much impossible to fail. It spawns in a very obvious position and you can pretty much always get it. So yeah. As soon as it hits, you should have pulled it in by now, so everyone's already pulled it in, as you can see. And the first thing that you want to do is pre-pearl. So if you're wondering what a pre-pearl is, it's you just pearling before you actually get your supply, so it means that you don't have to jump up and pearl in. It's quite inefficient if you do that, so here's the actual waypoints. Most of the time, if you want to, you can zoom into them and then look at stuff so you can actually know like where everything is, so that's the main part. And yeah, as soon as your supply hits 38%, so after you've picked it up 38% of the time, you hop into your person. Of course, I'll just show you. So from this perspective, you just throw it right there, and then you hop, yeah, you'll pretty much spawn exactly right where the pile should be, which is about here. So I'll just play the replay and show you what happens. So of course, I just pearled in, and what that means is that I'll probably land here. So as you saw, Orc over there already landed earlier than me because he's better. And right from there, I just go straight to shop. And yeah, let me just talk about your actual like routings first. So try, this is try if you're wondering, this is try. Now from try, you go all the way to shop. This is shop because it's next to the shop, not try 2, it's shop. So from try, you go to shop, and then equals, after you pull in equals and you bring it to mid, then you go to shop, because shop spawns around here and you need to pull it to here. Where the safe spot is, there's also another safe spot there, as that one shows. But if the tentacle is like clipped into the block right here, it means that you can't be getting this supply because it's just gonna pick you up. So that's the main thing with shop. I'll talk about it later, but I should be talking about routings. Slash goes to slash should go to square, but there's another couple other things, so that's why orc went from equals to square, because slash didn't spawn. Now the next thing is of course X. So X is probably the hardest supply because you have to cancel and everything. I'll talk about cancelling later after I actually get to X, because that's where you actually need to cancel. But with cancelling, yeah, just do that on X. So from X, you go to X cannon, or just cannon. Cannon spawns around here, and you just bring that to the actual cannon, and from here you just fire upwards and go in. So that's all your routings. It's pretty simple. If something doesn't spawn, just go to your seconds, and that's pretty much how I do it. But if you actually want to learn, ask someone in Kuudra gang. Ask your friend, ask someone who's got 1k plus comps, because I surely don't and I have no idea. So now the next thing is, of course, since you've done your supplies, let's talk about what you should do after. So after you make it to your seconds, if you're wondering, a lot of people have a pre-pearl to their seconds, so slash has a pre-pearl to square, and equals you could pre-pearl to shop, but it's not absolutely needed, and yeah, the main thing is just slash to square. You can do it on X, but it's a little bit inconsistent because honestly, it's pretty easy. You just go here and come back. There's not too much to do, so it's pretty simple. Now, yeah, that's pretty much try. Try is the easiest, as I said before. If you pull it in, then you pulled it in. If you're slow, then good luck. Everyone's going to think you suck, because you do. Now, the actual supply spawns are in this radius, about here. So yeah, there's no like funny spots like really far out or really far out that way. So as long as you have your rod cast out about in the middle here from the actual block, then you should be fine. By the way, if you're wondering how the lineups actually work, so this one's red and this one just goes to red, so that's how that one works. So now with the equals also needs a little bit of cancelling, so I might talk about it here actually. So with equals can spawn over here and also over here, so it's got a much wider range. If it spawns further out here and you pass your rod over around this side, then you probably do need a lot of cancelling, but most of the time you have to cancel anyways because these two tentacles are really annoying. So if you're wondering, this tentacle spawns incredibly close to you, and so does this one if it does spawn, and these two will nearly always pick you up. So there's a little strategy you can use if you're high ping like me. I've got about 250 ping, so you can just stand on this step, and what that means is that you lag back a little bit, but you need all that. You have to like pull it in fully and a lot quicker than you should be. So just just stand on this block if you've got high ping. If you've got low ping, then just pearl cancel, and if you're wondering what pearl cancel is, it's just you have to time it correctly. So as soon as the tentacle picks you up, then you have to start spamming pearls downwards, and you just like have to make sure that you don't actually move. So if your pearl lands on a different block, then yeah, good luck cancelling because you just failed that. Another little way you can do it is that if you get your skeleton horse pet out and then you spawn it, like let's say you're on this block and you're trying to cancel, you spawn it on this block as soon as it's about to pick you up, and then you spam pearls into your skeleton horse, and that just means that you've got a higher hitbox that you can just cancel into. That's the main thing with cancelling here, and that's pretty much equals. It's pretty easy. It should spawn from here all the way to there, so probably cast it diagonally or something. Yeah, that's pretty much it. You can fail equals quite a bit, and if you do, it's pretty embarrassing, so don't do that. Okay, on to the next one. We've got slash. Of course, slash is very easy unless you're flock. Yeah, unless you're flock. And slash pretty much spawns from here all the way to here. It's a pretty easy radius. If it spawns here, it's likely going to be really easy to pull in, and if it spawns here, you should have your rod already out here, so it's pretty easy. Now, if you're standing here and it spawns here and there's a tentacle there, you might need to cancel, but most of the time you don't. This is pretty much something you don't have to cancel for, and you just pearl up into the blue, and then if you've got a second, you pearl around that spot. I don't have a waypoint for it because I need one, but I just don't have one right now. So that's the main thing with slash. It's really easy, and yeah, just go to square after. With square, there's not much to explain about it. There's two safe spots, one down here and one up here. If there's no tentacle, like right now, you can just keep it here if the supply is like already here, but most of the time you just drag it around. Now, if you get X done pretty quickly and there's no cannon, or you get cannon done pretty quickly and there's no X, then you can come to square. That's the only thing I remember. Yeah, you can help with the pull on square after slash finishes, so it's just a bit faster to get it around. A really bad square, if you're wondering, for an example, is around here, because it means that you have to pull it all the way around and then over there. Most of the time it'll spawn around here, so it's pretty easy. Now with X is probably the hardest one because it spawns in such a large radius and it's so far away, because your supply can spawn all the way around here and then you have to pull it all the way in. And then the second part is that it doesn't really have a safe spot and you have to cancel. Cancelling on this one is also incredibly annoying because there's two tentacles. So I just highly recommend you just learn how to cancel. Like I said about equals, just cancel here and it should be pretty easy. Pearl up, and if you want to do a second, pearl around that spot. I don't have one, but just look in the area I'm looking. Can't see my cursor either, so it's a bit hard. So if you're on this side, this one will pick you up. If you move like slightly further onto this block on the right of the white one, then this tentacle will pick you up, and it's pretty much a guarantee that it always picks you up. So X is probably the most annoying. And if you really need to, or if you really need to on any other supply actually, if all the tentacles spawn around it and you can't cancel, a very useful thing to know is that you can go to the barrier, and what the barrier means is that from the barrier you just look under the lava. By the way, most people when they're cancelling, or barriering, they will throw their rod forwards, and that's definitely something that you don't want to be doing. You want to throw your rod upwards because that's where the actual hitbox of the supply is, so if you do that, then you'll always get your barrier. That's the main thing with barriering. It's pretty easy and it works on basically everything. So yeah, that's your supply guide. There's not much else to it. Have your omar set on. As soon as you get to mid, swap to your aurora and then go to your second one. Most of the time you don't really want to swap, but yeah, if you want to and you die a lot, or if you've got slow supplies, then swap to aurora. But on the other hand, you might just want to run like everyone else is here, apart from me, because I'm weird. But yeah, just run ember most of the time and you should be fine. And I'm pretty sure this one is a 45-second supply. And yeah, this is also part 1 is when you want to pre-LB. So as you saw me here doing, I was shooting my last spreads into Kuudra at exact, like right after I finished all my supplies. I'm actually being really bad at this because about now you're going to start your build, so yeah, don't do this too late. I'm just really bad at the game. So pre-LBing, all you want to do, shoot it 3 times with the duplex last breath, and you should be fine with P1. And yeah, that's pretty much your P1. Everyone go last breath if you've got time. If you don't have time, don't last breath, clear a little bit, and yeah. As you saw, my supplies took about 35 seconds, a very nice fast supplies. It's probably one of my best, but I think my best was about, 32 or something. And by the way, if you're wondering, a very, very good supply or world record pace should be about 29 seconds, 95 milliseconds for your supplies, and that's pretty much it. Right, so now we get to build, and I'll probably just slow down the actual replay a lot so you can actually see what's happening, but yeah, I'm building really slowly. I'm heavily throwing this build right now because everyone else is already building, but I'm not, as you can see. So the first thing that you want to know is that your builds, you should have your fresh tools perk maxed in the Crimson Isle shop. And what you really want to do is have your 5L up at all times. Your 5L is absolutely overpowered, so always use it. And your general motion should be looking up and down every couple seconds. Let's see if I can find someone doing it. Yeah, he's building every couple seconds, and then swap to 5L, and then look back, because having your 5L up all the time and just using it just basically means that you'll be mana draining for everyone else, and they have a good hard mana that way. So as you can see, everyone starts on the corners of the build. So I started at try, and from try I went to this corner. Radar started at X, and then from X he goes to this corner, slash goes to that corner, and of course equals goes to this corner. And the build is split through the middle of this direction, so there's 2 sides. Orc and I work together, and Raider and Epic Slender work together, and what that means is that you'll be pretty much racing to finish the build as fast as possible, and your freshes will pretty much be the main thing that you'll be looking for. And since replays don't show your freshes, and I'm not sure they do, yeah, I don't think they do, but with your freshes, if someone freshes on your side, it pretty much means that you're going to finish earlier than they are. And what that means is the person who freshes pretty much finishes both of these piles, and the other guy helps, but you're gonna finish it first. And if 2 people on the same side fresh, then one guy just finishes their pile and goes to the other side to help them. And then the other person who freshes on this side just finishes the middle pile. But then if 3 people fresh, then yeah, it's great. I actually have no idea how that works, but you're just going to have a nice fast build. If all 4 people fresh, then nobody clear, everyone just builds. You're just going to have a world record build, hopefully. Yeah, I can't remember who holds that world record build, but just try to get a nice 15-second build, which is really, really high up. And if you get a good build with a good amount of freshes, you should have a 16 to 18-second build, and that's pretty much it. If you die in build, you're throwing, so don't die in builds. And with Ballista mechanic, you should only have it up to 2. That's all you need. Anything higher than that is pretty much overkill, or if you're doing a slow run, or I don't know, if you're really bad at the game, then get Ballista mechanic 3, but all you need is BM2, and that's pretty much it for your build. Yeah, I don't know how I finished this build guide a little faster than Raider did his.
In case you haven't heard of me, my name is Raider MC, and I like boys.
But yeah, that's pretty much your builds. This is NWJN. Wait, no, NWJN isn't working right now, but there should be a nice big number in the middle that shows you how much the builds build. And yeah, that's pretty much it. If you want, you should just be in your other perspective while you're building, so you can see all the mobs around you, and if there's knockers, then you're too slow. Right, so now with P3, as I said before, you should be using 32 tap, so let me just finish up the actual builds real quick. And as you should know right now, so our stunner Orc, he just left at 88%, and the only reason you do this is because your build should be pretty much finished by now. And as you can see, by the time he actually gets to it and gets the cannon upgrade, yeah, he's already hopped on. And from here, as soon as you get on the cannon, you should just already aim yourself at Kuudra. I don't know where he went, he just disappeared right there. But let's see, oh yeah, replays don't show it very well, but yeah, he just shoots himself into Kuudra. On your way in, shoot it if you're stunner, and I'll just go into his perspective real quick. I'll hop back into the DPS perspective later, but this is pretty much your stunner. Brick stun should look like, so if you're brick stunning, the block you should be on is, so you enter from here, and as soon as you go in, you should have already made it onto this block. So as soon as you go in, it's completely dark. You should have a good waypoint, and you should go to exactly this block. So you ether warp all the way into this block, and if you're wondering what brick stun is, you just click this specific stone block that I'm looking at right here. Very quickly, let's see if I can get chords out. Yeah, so -153, 29, and 171 is pretty much the chords for your brick stun, and yeah, just spam click this one. You can drag click on it if you want, and you'll get a 13 or 12 second stun. That's if you're brick stunning, of course. But then on the other hand, if you're just insta stunning like Orc is, what happens is that you just TP in. What you do is you just look at all these blocks, you break it, and then what Orc does, I'm pretty sure he gets onto one of these and then throws his pearls down that way, and your DPS should be fast, so you shouldn't be throwing too hard. Now let's go back to the DPS real quick. But yeah, let's talk about pre-fire on our way. So pre-fire is pretty much you firing before the stunner actually stuns. So as soon as you get here, swap your equipment really quickly. You should have your keybinds for it, swap your armor. And by the way, you should be running your lava shell necklace, as I said before, so you already have your lifeline health down. Have all your gear on you, you know your items that you need, you can just look at someone else, but yeah, just have your health training items. Get yourself down to lifeline level, or not as much, like Yali right here, or Raider. Yeah, you can finish that off after the stun, because there's a couple seconds, even during animation skip, that you can do some stuff. And just swap all your items in your inventory, and just fire. As you can see, I suck at pre-fire, so don't be like me. Be like Slender and Raider, because they're actually good at the game. Now, if you actually know what to do, a couple people, they will run Terror in the whole run, because what that means is that you can get your stacks up really quickly, and you don't have to swap armor into your actual Terror. You can do that after the stun, but yeah, everyone's just firing right now, right before the stun, and what that means is that you can stun as soon as the stun stuns, then you get Kuudra right down to 60%. So if you want to know, yeah, this is how fast your DPS should be going, and in your first 1.5 seconds, you should hit 50k already. And yeah, that was a bit slow by me, because I wasn't like pre-firing as much, and yeah. Front, by the way, is something in, I think, Volk, so if you want that, do that. As you can see, Orc already did his animation skip, and what animation skip means is that Kuudra will be standing here for 5 seconds. Animation skip, as I said before, you just throw your pearls, usually up, but Orc does it sideways. If you've got a fast stun and fast DPS, throw it sideways. If you've got a slow one, then throw it upwards, it's more consistent. And by the way, it's better if you throw multiple pearls at the same time, so you won't just miss all your animation skips. So from here on, everyone who's actually rending, like basically just everyone that's not me, you should be ragging, reapering, and then you swap back into your master. And then from there on, everyone gets TP down, obviously, and your renders, if you're a one peeker, then you know what you're supposed to do. I don't know why you're watching this video. If you're a one peeker, then yeah, just walk up, do your like doggy. I'll make a doggy guide later, and I don't know where I went. If you're actually doing a normal thing, then you just shoot, dodge everything, and if you keep dying to these, then you have a skill issue. And actually, if they turn like the final color, then you jump. You don't jump anytime earlier, and if there's multiple stacking, then good luck surviving. Don't shift on the end of each block, because that aggroes all the places, which I don't know where they are right now, but they're probably already dead. A good part 4 should be taking a couple seconds, about 7 seconds max. As you see, I think someone like missed their rend right there, but it's fine. Yeah, that's pretty much it. If you're rending, and you should be rending, so you can get a 7-second one, that's the fastest you should be getting. Anything earlier than that, well, then you're probably on par up with the world record pace, so good on you. If you're Fatal Tempo and Duplex swapping, then you should have a 1 minute 30 or less run, and that's, yeah, it's pretty easy to get at if you're swapping. Yeah. By the way, getting to part 4 should be about 1 minute or so. That's world record pace at least, but if you really want to, the normal pace is about 1:15 when you get to part 4, and that's a good run. So yeah, that's pretty much your part 4, part 3, part 2, and part 1 covered. I'll go through a little bit of Misc stuff right after this. So here's pretty much everything that I forgot throughout the video. So the first one is of course Kuudra. So a lot of people don't know what Kuudra is. And Kuudra is of course for supplies. So if you're wondering what it does, so let's say there's tentacles all around your supply and you can't hell cancel, because cancelling only works if you still can get it for the first couple of seconds. So what you're going to want to do is that you're going to want to bring it over, start the animation, and then just fly around with your AOTV and just go around the entire map. And what that does is that it aggroes a tentacle, and the tentacle will just go wild around you, and it will circle the whole thing. And that's called a Kuudra, and what that does just basically means someone else. So you do need 2 people for this, which is why most people don't do it in world record parties or any other parties. And it's just that it needs 2 people, so you're going to be like slowing down on some other supplies, and that's just really inefficient. And most people will do this on shop because it's really easy to, and most of the time there's a lot of tentacles there, or on X, but that's a lot less common. So let's say I'm going to copter. I'll just do this, say that I'm going to copter, and then I'll fly off and just go around the entire thing. Let's say this is like the actual Kuudra area. You'll just fly around the whole area. Make sure that the actual thing is still following you, so you want to be in this mode while you're actually doing it. After the other person gets it, then yeah, it's fine. Then you just let go of it, the tentacle picks you up and then throws you. But most of the time, the tentacle will tend to despawn, so I mean, nothing else really happens after that. Now the next thing I'd like to talk about is when you're doing supplies, it should be obvious but I don't really mention it, is that if there's any tentacles that are close to you when you're doing a pre, just walk away from them a little bit, not too far or else like the animation will stop, but walk away from it for a little bit. It does give you a couple milliseconds, and that couple milliseconds can add up to quite a bit in the long run, so yeah, you won't be failing a pre that. Now on the other hand, there's a couple other things such as using twilight arrow poison. I forgot to mention this. Most people, they'll use about 1 or 2 twilight arrow poison after they use their tap, so after they finish like spamming all the things, they'll just like use 1 twilight arrow poison, and that's kind of how twilight works. It stacks up between all 4 players, so you get about 40% more damage, and yeah, it's quite useful. And another thing is that with your tap, if you're actually like rending or anything, it would be better if you have all of your tap in your inventory instead of having it in your backpacks like this, and just have it as stacks because it's quite easy. Just put about a stack or so and then 1 twilight and a stack or so and then twilight. You'll figure out a good rhythm for it, but yeah, that's pretty much it. And the reason you're going to do this is that then you don't have to keep getting into your storage and taking all that time, and then you should be using that time for your pre-fire, and that's a big mistake that most people do. Now the equipment as well, if you've got low ping, I should probably mention that if you shift click your equipment it's faster, but since I've got high ping it doesn't really matter too much. That's the thing with your equipment. And then of course your swapping after your supplies are actually fast, so about 30 seconds. You don't need this anymore and pretty much just run lifeline, mana pool on everything. It's pretty simple and that's pretty much that. So I'm just going to make a couple corrections right now to what I said before, which is that if your pre doesn't spawn, usually just go to your second. That's a little bit wrong because you are meant to do your second, but before you do your second, you're meant to help pull in other people's seconds, and that just means that when they do their seconds, it's a lot faster. And after you do your second, after pulling other people's, then you go pre-LB, and because like since you don't have that much to do, yeah, you're the pre-LBer. If you've only got 1 supply anyways, you should be pre-LBing, so yeah, it's pretty obvious that way. Now the next thing is magma arrows. Magma arrows are the best arrows for Kuudra. Armor thread is also alright, but magma arrows are right now the best because they give you so much damage and a little bit crit chance as well. So that's pretty good. They used to be bugged before, giving you 10 crit chance without being divided, but yeah, too bad. Now banking, there's 2 places to do it. You can do it in the desert, which is pretty easy. It makes a little bit of money, but not as much pet XP. Pet XP is the main thing that's making money in flares. They're pretty much the same rates for banks, but flares could be a bit faster if you've got high ping. I meant low ping. If you got high ping, go to desert because it's just a bit easier, so you don't just keep falling into the lava. But yeah, desert's actually pretty good, and you can also do Terra along with it, so yeah, you might want to do desert. Future does it, he likes it, he really enjoys it. He's got 600 mil and stuff there. And then another thing is, don't use my hotbar right here. My hotbar is absolutely atrocious. Like, I don't need like half the things here. And yeah, you just want to have all your items like easy to swap already, so if you've already got them there, then you don't have to swap them. The main thing with doing that is so you can save a lot of time while you're pre-firing, so yeah, that's pretty much it. Low gear, don't rend. That's just kind of the thing that you should know. If you don't have gear, don't rend. If you can't do over 150 mil on your second pull, then yeah, don't rend because you're just kind of throwing. Fatal tempo and duplex is really underrated if you've got like no rending gear, so yeah, just do that. If you can do 25 mil per like peak, then you're pretty much fine anyways, which I can't do, so yeah, shush. Now the next thing, change your lava texture pack to water. It's really nice on your eyes, and to be honest, it just looks so much nicer when you're running Kuudra. I'm pretty sure SBE has one, but of course since it's paid now and it's also monthly, yeah, it kind of sucks. You can use the pack that I always put in the description of my videos. I think it's Better Nether or something. Yeah, the water actually flows, it's really nice, but inside it is orange, but you know, orange juice is alright. It's kind of mid. You can change it yourself, but I don't think it's animated that way, but yeah, definitely do that. It's very worth your time. It's really nice to look at. Or in the very least, you can like make the lava darker in your texture packs, or just find one that's a lot darker, because you do not want to have like something that's like really bright while you're like playing Kuudra. It's really distracting and not very fun to have. Another little thing is that a lot of the time when you're playing Kuudra, if your Wi-Fi is like a little bit unsteady, I would highly recommend that you replug your router. It pretty much fixes it every single time for me, and if it doesn't work, just restart it again, but slower, and make sure you don't break your router. By the way, I've got really bad internet. You can check my community polls, and yeah, that's kind of my like upload speed. So yeah, I've got that bad like internet, so if that doesn't fix it for you, I don't know what will. Mana drain is incredibly underused in lower Kuudra parties, so if you're like a lower Kuudra player or like you haven't got that many runs, make sure you mana drain. It's really useful. It gives you a ton more damage, and it's actually quite a large amount of your DPS as a whole. So remember to mana drain. A lot of people forget and they just have that mana pool lifeline and they don't actually use it. So use it. It's incredible. It's insane. It does damage. Of course, if you fail animation skip, also Kuudra turns into a different entity from after and previous to the animation. So if that does happen, someone will have to pre-LB again, or just LB again, and then you also have to re-debuff everything. So you have to get your toxic and your twilight out and then debuff it again, or else yeah, you're not going to be doing too much damage. Use the Kuudra Hit Box in njwn or Thomas Tank Engine because it really helps. Most of Kuudra doesn't actually like get hit, so you definitely want to use this. It's pretty cool. It's just a nice yellow box and you can actually see Kuudra. It's a little bit overpowered and yeah, it's really useful. Now finally, in P3, this is going to be the last thing I actually mention. Don't let people stand in front of you because they will block your arrows and it's not funny. A lot of people will just stand like slightly above everyone else, and then other people's heads will just block the arrows. It's not very useful, it sucks, and it's really annoying. Right, so hopefully I covered everything. I know I probably forgot a lot. I was kind of brain dead when I was making this. There's a lot more things I was gonna say, but I forgot them. Yeah, if you wanna like ask about anything, DM me in game, or like just ask anyone in Kuudra Gang. They actually know stuff. Salty Whale, I'm pretty sure he's back after his break now, so you can ask him everything. He's the advice god. He's absolutely insane. He knows everything. And I don't know how he knows it, but yeah, he's got a lot of stats for you, so if you're wondering anything, just ask him. There's a lot of world record videos if you want to watch those. Those are really good, apart from 7's 115, which is a little bit outdated now. But there's a lot of things that you can check. You can check Flakes. He just hit #1 Kuudra score, so GG's to him. Yeah, there's a lot of people that you can check. There's a lot of things you can do. Ask people, and if there's something you don't know, post in the comments, because I will probably be reading those. If there's anything wrong, also correct me there. There's a lot of things that I might have said wrong, like I said last time. Yeah, there was a couple things that I said last time wrong, but hopefully I covered absolutely everything. If there's anything that you definitely think is wrong, tell me. It should be fine. Yeah, subscribe. That's all I care about. So yeah, see ya, and I guess I'll see you in about 2 weeks.